Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Having, yeah. It's the Black Country Blokes chewing the fat with me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman, and Tom Garrett. And today our special guest is Joe Plum. Now, Joe Plum has done so many things, despite of so many things. At a young age, been diagnosed with Asperger's, ADHD. But as I often say, this thing, this disability, if we call it, this isn't just define us. This isn't all we are, with so many different fractures. And what he's gone on to do so many different things, working with wonderful organisations, and now branching off into other things. So, Joe, thank you ever so much, bro, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to just tell us a bit about your life and how you got started on this journey?
Yeah, so I'm Joe. I'm 23 years of age. I live in Cambridgeshire now. And from a young age, I was always different. I was bullied from the first day of school, really, and never had any friends throughout my whole school life. Always labelled a bad child by teachers and parents, peers, whatever. And it wasn't necessarily being bad. I was just different. And the awareness around mental health wasn't great back then when I was in school. But I was diagnosed with autism from the age of 7. And for me, that diagnosis was great. It helped give me a path and find a structure and a way that helped me more and helped me progress into life. But I was singled out every day. I was physically bullied, verbally, cyber, I couldn't escape it. Tried taking my own life many times. The first time I tried to take my own life, I was 12. And things just got progressively worse, like the hateful comments. I hated myself completely. When I was 13, I started my own campaign, which went global, called Stand Up, Speak Out, which very quickly got into the press, got into the news, TV, worked alongside some great people like James Arthur, Sunita, and that was to make change, to raise awareness not only of bullying itself, but autism as well, and to make change. And that carried on.
May I say something, Joe? I mean, I was bullied as a child, and those scars always stick with you for life, don't they? So to be so brave at the age of 13, when you're in the mix of it, takes absolute bottle and inner strength.
Yeah, it was difficult, and these things, I have a down day every now and then. That's also down to what I'm diagnosed with, but it's also those memories never leave you. It's like a bit of paper. You can crunch up a bit of paper, but you can never. Once you've done that, you can never smoothen it out again. And that is exactly what bullying is. If you want to show it in a physical form, scrunch up paper and try and iron it flat again. You can't, and that's exactly what bullying does to anyone that's been through it. And I was lucky. My family were very supportive, but unfortunately, things got very bad. I was put in a psychiatric unit, and it was unsafe for me to live at home. So I went into care.
How old was you then? Sorry,
I was 16, and I spent a year and a half. I was in and out first time. Didn't have a great experience in the first unit. I'm diabetic as well. They refused to give me my insulin, and I ended up in something called DKA. And they refused to take me to hospital until a parent saw me and my mum and dad were rallying, and then they did it again. So I was then put on a section by the General Hospital in Sheffield, and then put back into a unit in Northampton who were really good. I finally got the therapy I needed, and they were great. And I kind of found a safe haven in that, because it was just being myself. I didn't have to worry about what other people might have thought about me. Everyone that was in there, we were all the similar age, but we were all in there for a similar reason, different conditions, but similar reason. And all of us had been bullied as well, which is really interesting. You know, everyone who was in there for mental health issues, illnesses, they'd all had trauma from being bullied. And that was a platform to expand my voice even more. I had to stop Stand Up Speak Out because of the media attention. It just got a bit too much, from going from someone that nobody wanted to know, that had no friends, to all of a sudden just in this spotlight. It was
that overwhelming, Joe? As you say, going from having no one to everyone.
I had so many breakdowns. I got so addicted to social media because it was almost, yes, I didn't know these people face to face, but it was the first kind of time I'd socialized. And then going into a unit when you having everything taken away from you, that was a struggle in itself. A complete meltdown.
Like withdrawal symptoms almost.
Yeah, exactly. Social media is a drug. If you become addicted to it, it's exactly the same as a drug addiction. And to get away from it, especially now when tech is so widely available and it's in lockdown, it's how we all communicate.
Can I ask you, Joe, sorry, how do you find that now, and how do you deal with the social media now? Because I say we found you, Tom found you through social media. You've obviously still got quite a large following. So how do you separate that now? Have you learned from your mistakes, basically?
I've learned from my mistakes. I mean, there's some days where I'll post a lot, but I schedule a lot. I try and plan ahead. I listen to the news and see what's kind of topical, because I think that's really important. You know, look at the main stories, especially around mental health. What are people struggling with, and what messages can I promote? What can I do to make an impact for something that's relevant that people will see, that could hopefully save a life? My partner is very good. She keeps me grounded. If I'm going 150 miles an hour, she will quite happily tell me. She'll take my phone off me. But you know, these things are difficult. I want to make change, but it's not all done by social media at the moment. In lockdown, it's very difficult because we have to try and work differently to reach people, to do a counselling session, to make sure people are safe. We can't do that face to face. It has to be done on some form of technology. So, structure and routine.
Isn't that mad, Tom? You know, because we're all clapping for the NHS and we're all doing this. But if I need to go and see the doctor, I have to see the doctor. But I'm mentally ill. I can't go and sit down on someone's settee wearing a mask, wearing a visor, and say, I'm not well. No, can you do it over Skype? Well, I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid about my wife hearing me. I'm worried about my daughter hearing this. Do you think that would just be rocket science? Get that person into a safe environment, let him confess his sins, then send him home?
Yeah, well, it's like you said. I mean, you can't, from my own experience, you know, sitting in, I think we chatted about this before, where, you know, you see that many different people when you go to the doctor. It's rarely you'll see the same person twice. And, you know, having to, you know, I used to go in there with this piece of paper. I must have had this piece of paper for probably about 8 or 9 years. You know, the amount of times I've showed that to different people because I physically couldn't. I got to a point where I couldn't even talk about it anymore. I don't think counselling would have worked for me online personally, like you say. I think when you're in your own house, excuse me, when you're in your own house, you know, there's a lot of thoughts, you know, where you are surrounding you. I think, like you say, if you go and sit in a room with someone, you enter in their place, aren't you? So, you know, like you say, realistically, you know, put a mask on, you know, have a screen in front of you, and they should be carrying on doing it, really.
I mean, you can still go to A&E, and I mean, the one thing which annoys me that the government, especially with this third lockdown, you can have a support bubble. You can still go around to your support bubble's house. If you are struggling and you do need to go and see someone, it might not have been headline news, and they might not have emphasized it, but you can still do that. Obviously, don't flout the rules, but don't suffer alone. If you need to see someone face to face, get out of your house. You can do it, and no one is going to stop you, because by law, it's written in. If you need to keep yourself safe and to safeguard yourself, you are allowed to do that. But also, post-lockdown, post-pandemic anxiety, people who suffer with anxiety on a day-to-day basis don't want to go out and face the world. Many people keep themselves inside, and that's detrimental to their own mental health. But now what this is doing is going, actually, it's okay, I've got no other choice. I can kind of mask that. What happens when we get out of this and we all have to face the world again? Then we've got another major issue to deal with.
This is what I think we spoke about this the other day on the show. After the first lockdown, mental health, it was really on the rise. People were talking about it. And same again the other day, as soon as the news got announced, everyone was talking about it, tweeting, Instagram. But like you say, this has got to be something that this time, third time lucky, we've got to take this back into the real world, because it's all right talking about it now, while we're in lockdown and all getting together. But like you say, you go back out into the real world, you get stuck in the same cycle again, you're back at home. And as you've just said, Joe, we've got to do something to keep this going for good, really.
Yeah, mental health awareness days, mental health awareness months, they're great. But why we shouldn't just have a day or a month?
Yeah.
No matter what, it should be talking all year round. That awareness, it's like anti-bullying week. Great week, love it, promotes the message. But why do we need 1 week where it basically goes, especially to young people that go anti-bullying week? It's almost like, oh, we've got to be nice to this person for this week.
Yeah.
It's anti-bullying week. One, just be kind, be there, but talk about it anyway.
It's almost like your New Year's resolution, isn't it? You do it for a week and then you give it up, instead of thinking, well, I bet we just do day resolutions where each day I'm going to try and be kind.
Yeah, I just don't set any now.
No, I don't. I've just accepted facts. I'm a little fat kid. But anyway, Joe, back to when you were 16 in the psych ward. Could you, because that's where we all jumped in, sorry, could you carry on with that?
Yeah, no problem. So when I was in the psych ward, I was, in and out for most of a year and a half. And even after that, I had the meeting with social services, and it was, put into a semi-independent flat. So I was taken out of my family home, and it was safe for them. They couldn't do much, and I was just all over the place. And that was difficult in itself. There's the social care. Anyone that might watch this or listen to this that has been in care or is in the system knows it's really not great. So that was then another platform for me to go, as well as the mental health. I was the chair of Children in Care Council. So I got a group of children that are in care together who were the same age as me, sat down, and we made the change. We went to social workers and the director of children's services and said, look, this is what it's like. Instead of you going, oh yeah, we're going to do this, do that, listen to us, make these changes. We created a social work academy from that as well. So now in the recruitment selection process, instead of just going to uni and becoming a social worker, you also have to go through interviews with children in care. They give their feedback. If they don't think that your approach was good enough, then they will say, and that has to be considered. But they also are part of the training. They will go into universities. They will do the talks to really get that one-to-one impact, to what it's like to be in care. To don't just keep coming and going, because many people, yes, my story is different, but many people in care have had people walking in and out of their lives. That causes upset, the instability, and then moving on to independence. It doesn't work. And mental health, even in the social care system, it's not considered. You have your pathway plan. They don't want to know about your mental health. They just want to know, basically, when you reach 18, you're going to go into the leaving care system, get a PA instead of a social worker, get your own flat. We're going to leave you. We don't care about your mental health, pretty much.